Are you ready to go around the world? Sit back, relax, and buckle your seatbelt as we take off for an adventure. It's jet-lag free but filled full of fun and travel insights. The only thing you'll need to pack is a sense of humor. Time for the award-winning travel show, Around the World.
Greetings, Globetrotters and armchair travelers. Welcome to another edition of Around the World. I'm Arthur von Wiesenberger, your host, and I've got the most stunning, wonderful co-pilot on board today, Bonnie Tanny LeBlanc, a bite of the best all the way from New York City out here to the West Coast.
Thanks for having me, Arthur. It's amazing in the 20-some-odd years I've been doing the show that I am finally here in
You've never
Santa
come
Barbara.
to the studio
No.
before, have you?
This
It's
is
always been by
exciting.
phone.
Right.
So all of our viewers can actually get to see you for a change.
This is great.
And it's so great to have you. It really is. Well, we got a great show today. First of all, you're going to take us to the Dordogne in France,
The
aren't you?
Dordogne, and talk about my foie gras.
Ooh.
And, yeah.
That sounds delicious. And you know, speaking of food, then I'm going to take you to Acqualagna in Italy, and we're going to go to the 54th annual Truffle Fair,
Ooh,
which just finished.
Now,
And
foie gras or truffles?
well, they kind of
maybe together.
Yeah, I like that idea. But if that isn't enough, then we're going to go up to San Luis Obispo, which is just a little bit north of the studio, and we're going to join two gentlemen who have got SLO Brewing, and I think they brew more than just beer these days.
I heard the same thing. This will be exciting.
And finally, we're going to go and find the entire world because of Wanderlust. This is a new book that's just come out. It's a traveler's guide to the globe. And Grace Fujimoto is going to take us around the globe and maybe tell us some of the most incredible
Can't wait
discoveries.
to learn all about these
Yeah.
places. Wow.
So it's going to be a great show, and you know, I'm excited to go. And I mean, you just got here, and I just got here, so it's kind of fun to be meeting on the plane together.
And so we're all both on different time zones, are we not?
Well, I'm like on Italian time zone, so you know.
I'm only on New York time zone, so you're in a worse shape, I guess.
Maybe depends on what I'm drinking. You know.
That is true.
Well, maybe we'll find that out about SLO. And I've always wanted to know, you also do the theater critic for our show. And there's so many new shows that are opening up in Broadway, right?
There are so many of them. I'm going to have to book a time to come back and discuss them with you.
Yeah, I want to
Lots
know.
of great stuff on Broadway right now.
Isn't that great that New York has that revival every once in a while with new stuff and everyone starts talking about it?
Every September it starts.
Yeah.
New shows, new stars who've sometimes never been on Broadway before.
Is that a hard transition?
Some of them do really well.
Yeah.
Some of them can't act. I didn't say that. No.
No, I mean, be honest, you know, because I wonder sometimes, you know, that transition from TV where everything is very controllable to something that's a little...
And movies that you retake, and
Yeah,
retake.
to get it right.
Right, and you're live.
And you
You're
can't
live,
do that
right.
on stage, can you? Wow. Who do you think's the best actor on stage right now? If you were going to pick one.
Ooh.
Or actress. Or act person. I don't know.
Oh, my mind is now going through so many of them. I'm
Is there a
not
Sir
sure.
Laurence Olivier today on stage? Anybody who's
Not
got
that's
that compelling?
popping into my,
No, huh?
my head. Yeah.
Maybe that's an old school
I'm gonna have
Shakespearean
to give it
style.
some thought, and when I report back on theater,
Will you?
I'm going to think about it and come up with one.
All right, all right. Well, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, I'm ready to go to France with you and have some foie gras, maybe a little good wine,
Lots of good ones.
maybe a little inspiration from the French countryside, whatever. All right? All right.
Sounds great.
Sounds good to me.
let's
All righty.
go.
We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we've got more here on Around the World. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. we're back here on Around the World. I'm Arthur von Wiesenberg, and the delightful Bonnie Tenny LeBlanc is in studio with us, and we are just traveling all over the globe today.
So delightful to finally be here.
Have you got your seatbelt on? Because
I do. I was just buckling up.
Yeah, because we're you never know. This plane kind of bounces around sometimes. A little turbulence. But you're going to take us to France, aren't you?
I'm going to take you to the Dordogne.
So first of all, tell me, where is the Dordogne if you're looking at a map of France?
Ooh, kind of east of Bordeaux. So it's a 2-hour train ride from Paris.
So it's in the center, basically in the center of
Basically
France.
Center.
Wow. So it'd be a nice place to go probably in the spring or fall.
Spring or fall, and
Summer to get a little hot?
I would think it would get hot. I was there actually we were there in the fall, September.
Oh, so which is
and
really
it was
nice.
lovely.
Europe is so great.
Yeah, there was this small town that was Saint-Jean-de-Cole. A very little village. We rented a house there, and by the time we were gone a week later, we knew all the shop owners. It was that small.
It's so great when you go to France and you become French for a
Yes.
week or two. And you're going out to the boulangerie and buying breads, or you're going to the markets and picking up fruits and vegetables.
So we would go out because the roads there are very windy, no highways or anything. You're going back roads the whole time. And we would go out to a fabulous meal at lunchtime, Michelin star or something, and dine for 2 or 3 hours, having wonderful wine. And then we'd work our way home because, again, the winding roads would not be good to do in the dark. We would pick up some cheese and some pâté and a brand new baguette for evening, and, of course, wine, and sit in our garden.
Oh, great.
And have our evening meal, which was always the cheese and charcuterie and the wine, and then we'd light a fire in the fireplace, and it was heaven, absolute heaven.
The simple things in life,
Yeah,
isn't it? It really
yeah.
is. How'd you find this rental that you were in?
It was on the internet, a friend of a friend who had a house, and it ends up when I got there, we had friends in common. The owners are from Louisville, Kentucky, and I said, I have friends in Louisville, Kentucky. Maybe you'd know them. I mentioned my friend, and they go, she's our friend. And she had stayed at the house, and it's like such a small world. You never know who you're talking to.
No, you really don't. And how did you even find this part of the Dordogne? And what drove you there?
At one point, the 2 friends I went with, someone mentioned, I've never been to the Dordogne, neither have I. We were at a brunch at someone's house, and this other friend had a place, but she said, I don't rent it during the good seasons that you'd want to go, and she connected us to someone else, and we said, I've been to France many times, but I've never been to that part, and maybe we'll go for a week, and one of the other persons is a chocolatier. And so she was interested in the chocolate in the area.
Is there chocolate in the area?
More so in Bordeaux than where we were. But she found a chocolate shop in every city we went to.
My kind of girl.
Yeah. So we decided, this was a food town. Let's just be there, not become tourists the whole time. We did go and see what we should see. One day, we rented a guide who took us to 3 caves.
What's that?
Caves where there were real caves.
I mean, like you go in like a caveman.
Like cavemen, but one of them cavemen, and they were 15 to 20,000 years old.
Wow.
And
that's an old caveman.
It is an old caveman, and one of them she had a key to, and it was a private cave that hadn't turned to the government yet, and there hadn't been open to the public, and she had a key. We walked in and we had to drop anything we had. We couldn't carry any phone, we couldn't carry anything for photos, and if you're claustrophobic, don't go. Because no lights. She had a little light with her, and we went back into the cave watching where you're walking, and the artwork, and when you're thinking 15, 20,000 years ago, the artwork was amazing. It wasn't stick figures, there were actual animals, and there was this one figure that I wish that we could have taken pictures of, a face, and she puts her light on this side, and it looks like a Chinese man with that, whatever the name of that round hat is, with a little beard, and she takes the light and turns it around to the other side, and it's a woman.
Wow, with a beard?
Without a beard.
Oh, okay.
And without a hat. It was, you're like, and she goes back. And
how does that happen?
I have no idea. They were much more advanced than we've given them credit to. There was another one where we got on a train and rode for a mile. into the caves before we got out and walked to see the art. So there, we were told, like, growing up, you were told, caveman in there and he builds a fire. She goes, you can't build a fire in a cave. You'd get smoked out.
Yeah, that's right. So how do they bring in the light?
I have no idea.
Wow.
Yeah,
These are some interesting mysteries.
Fascinating. And that was our one day that was more, archaeological than gastronomic. Mm-hmm. It was fascinating.
But you're known for gastronomy. I mean, your blog, your website, bytothebest.com is revered as being the place to go to figure out where you're going to eat. And you're doing it globally too, right?
Globally. So we went in the Dordogne. I made sure we had 2 amazing Michelin star meals. Mm-hmm. And one of them is at a place called The Rock. It's in a century-old, I think it was a walnut mill, but I didn't realize walnuts were milled. Did you?
No?
No, but that's...
Well, I guess unless you want to make like walnut oil or something.
Maybe, but it was this old stone house by the, I'm looking at my notes because I always forget, the Drone River. Mm-hmm. And we didn't know how long it would take to get there because it was our first day there. We wandered around. We ended up at the restaurant a half hour early before it even opened. But this is the exquisite service was just unbelievable. So we get there and we go, oh my God, we just arrived in France. We're here. We're really sorry. He goes, let us seat you.
Nice.
And brings us to the terrace, and there was a little chill in the air. Uh-huh. So the gentleman comes back, and he has blankets for each of us to wrap in. So we're wrapped in a blanket, sitting there at the table before we got our menus. And then we started, since we were in France, my classic drinks is Lillet Blonde on the rocks with a slice of orange.
I always like a little blonde on the rocks. Yeah? With a slice or without?
With a slice. And we sat there drinking as we're looking at the menu and watching the river. It was magnificent. And then he brought a little stool for my purse.
Nice.
And from there on in, it was just spectacular.
So, the question for you then.
Yeah.
Michelin Guide is certainly an old world guide.
Right.
We all grew up with it, right? And I know people used to go take the guide and they plan their trip around 3-star restaurants.
Right.
Go bing, 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 bing. Then I noticed that a lot of Michelin-starred restaurants were getting into the frou-frou food. If they did frou-frou food, which is very precious designed food, but not necessarily that satisfying, they would get high ratings. Where is Michelin today?
I'm not quite sure. It's interesting you mentioned that because people are gaining and losing stars and getting annoyed with it. When I travel, I don't like doing 3-star restaurants. I like 1-star. And I learned that from Jacques Pepin, who, the famous French chef who was...
Sure.
Yeah. And he said when he traveled, they only went to 1-stars. And I said, let me try that. And I realized they were exquisite. Service was good, but it wasn't over the top where you couldn't afford or you feel like, let me take a bank loan out to eat there. Where the restaurants that I have on my site that we did in the Dordogne, one of them was, I want to get it right, was 31 euros for lunch.
Go on.
And it was this spectacular lunch where they wrapped me in a blanket.
Yeah.
And one dish came when my foie gras came, and I
Wait, you had foie gras at a 31 euro meal?
Yeah.
Jeez.
And that was lunch. If you go to dinner, it's much more expensive. So we get the foie gras, I got the foie gras, and there were these little dots of lemon on the plate. And I licked one, and I went, oh my God, and I passed my plate around telling everyone to try it.
Yeah.
No, that's figs and...
Boy, that looks good too.
That looks good.
What is that?
Sliced figs with beets, I believe.
Oh, that's even almost vegetarian, right?
It was beautifully... there it is, those lemon dots.
Oh, yeah.
So we said to the waiter...
So you ate the dots?
The foie gras in the back, you put that with your foie gras, and that was onion marmalade on a baguette.
My gosh.
So I said to him, what is this? And he said, it's a whipped... it's a blend of lemon... preserved lemons and butter. I said, wow, is that fabulous? Next thing we know, he brought us a little bowl full, scarfed it up. Every morsel of it.
I can imagine.
That was candied pork belly.
Yeah. I mean,
We ate.
This
so
is all
well.
part of your €31 meal?
Yes, there was another lunch that was 40
Unbelievable.
euros. So it was like 40,
you
yeah,
are a bargain.
yeah. But of course, you had a bottle of wine that was.
Yeah, that changes a few things, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And what I said, which I thought I would never in my life say, is, I OD'd on foie gras.
What a great problem to have.
I had foie gras for lunch, foie gras for dinner, and at one point at the end of the week, I went, I don't think I can look at it again.
Yes,
I never.
your own liver was getting big and
Yes.
expanded. Yeah, I know how that goes. Wow.
So it was fabulous. I would recommend it to anyone. It's not big cities.
Which is what
Small-
makes it wonderful.
yeah.
And probably you were the only American there, right?
And no, there were Americans in our little town because they
yeah.
came to look at the church and some other little places. They were nice little towns that you want to wander around and talk to the people.
Yeah.
Because they were just lovely to visit. And you felt like a French person.
Yeah. Now, if people want to know more about the Dordogne and where you went, can they find it on your website?
They can.
BiteOfTheBest.com. Hey, that's stereo. I love that. Alrighty, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, it's time to eat some more here on Around the World. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Canine of mine, friend for all time. So glad you're my best friend. Through thick and thin, we'll see things through. Canine of mine, so true.
For the complete A to Z of everything to do with animals, go to animalzone.org. And we're back here on Around the World, and Bonnie, you know, you got my appetite up. My mouth is watering talking about all those delicious foie gras dishes and good wines and lemon drops. I mean, gee whiz.
So delicious.
It sounds
so
really
delicious.
good.
So we're going to eat some truffles in Italy?
That's our next stop. By the way, do you know why the French love snails?
No, Arthur, tell me why the French love snails.
The French love snails because they don't like fast food. Done. Done. Okay, now we're going to go to Italy. With that bad joke, we're going to go to a destination that not a lot of people know about. It's called Acqualagna.
Acqualagna.
And Acqualagna is where every year for the past 54 years, they've been having a conference and trade show that goes on in this little tiny village all about truffles. And they actually do it throughout the year. They do, right now they're doing white truffles, which just ended, which is, of course, this is the season.
Right.
Then they'll be doing the dark black truffles, Perigord tubermellosporum truffles. And then in the summer, they do the tuber abacidum, the summer truffles. So this is really truffle destination. If you ever wanted to go and find out all about truffles, and to give you an idea where it's located, if you know where Rimini is on the Adriatic coast of Italy, it's about 35, 40 minutes in from Rimini. Maybe it depends how fast you drive.
And weren't you recently there?
I was there last week. Last week. And so I think what I'll do before I go into talking too much about it, we'll just go take a look at a video, and that should whet your appetite. So let's roll the video. About 3 hours drive northeast of Rome is the village of Acqualagna in the region of Marche. It's known as the truffle capital of Italy and hosts 3 truffle fairs annually, including the National White Truffle Fair in late October through early November. Here, the convergence of truffle hunters, purveyors, and connoisseurs come together to admire, acquire, and get inspired by this diamond of the kitchen. One can taste dishes prepared with fresh truffles, including this Parmesan and white truffle cream that covered the taste buds with the nutty taste of fresh Parmesan combined with the exotic, indulgent flavors of fresh white truffles. The white truffle, or tuber magnatum, looks like a knobby potato, but is extremely rare and to date cannot be cultivated. They are uncovered by truffle hunters and their trained truffle dogs. A good truffle dog can smell an underground truffle as deep as a foot below the earth's surface. The truffle hunter must work carefully to unearth the truffle, reward the dog for its accurate sense of smell, and then get the truffle to market as quickly as possible. The moment the truffle is unearthed, the clock of deterioration begins to tick. For each day that truffle is out of the ground, it begins to lose its intoxicating aroma and flavor. It is that smell which has been described by food writers as a blend of garlic and cheese, and by others as sheer sexiness. When served, it can fill a dining room with a mouth-watering aroma. Buying a fresh truffle requires keen observation. The larger the truffle, the higher the price, even though the size does not affect the aroma or flavor. Rounder truffles take longer to lose weight from evaporation than those with a greater surface area. A white truffle loses about 10% of its weight in 24 hours. Black ones last longer. Browning spots on white truffles indicate deterioration and age. Some less than scrupulous truffle hunters may even pack the crevices of the truffle with dirt, which will add weight, but it has to be removed before eating. In this case, it's important to brush off the soil before buying them, but not to get them wet. Truffles are best stored in a crisper section of the refrigerator, wrapped in a paper towel, and then placed in an airtight container. Just before eating, the truffles should be washed and brushed from soil and then dried with a paper towel. Truffles are displayed in glass display cases, acrylic boxes, and even in wine glasses. A large knobby white truffle weighing 233 grams was priced at 930 euros. Generally in Acqualagna in 2019, white truffles were selling for about 2,100 to 2,300 euros a kilo. The Burgundy black truffle were running about 400 euros a kilo. This one had a premium price because of its large size.
930 euro. 930.
The Burgundy black truffle, tuber uncinnatum, is considered very good, especially shaved over pastas or in sauces. The hazelnut aroma and more earthy taste adds a mysterious and luxurious accent to a dish. Not as prized as the tuber mellisporum, which has a season running from late November to March, the tuber mellisporum is considered the other diamond of the kitchen. A couple of small black truffles can cost as little as 3 euros each, and eaten raw and fresh are a way to taste the robust flavors of these amazing underground mushrooms. Urbani Truffles, the renowned distributors of truffles, and today run by the 6th generation since the founder Constantino Urbani dedicated his life to truffles in the 1850s, offers a vast selection of fresh truffles and truffle products. At Acqualagna, huge white truffles abound at Urbani, including one mega truffle that brought a smile to all that sniffed it. It was considered priceless. An essential tool for the truffle is the truffle slicer, which are available in utilitarian metal or in a more elegant wooden model. These slicers use a razor-type blade that can be adjusted to produce paper-thin slices of fresh truffle. This maximizes the aromatic qualities of the truffle and helps to cover a dish with this precious ingredient. Some stands offer truffle dishes with pasta, risotto, or even fried eggs. Quali sono i migliori tartufo del mondo? Dove si trovano?
Dove si trovano? Ad Alba.
A Alba, sì. Perché più
Poi dopo Alba Acqualagna.
Acqualagna. Che bravo.
Però qui sono molto buoni il tartufo, anche qui.
Sì, è buono anche
C'è l'esportazione, il mercato ha un 70% in mondiale, Acqualagna.
Ad Acqualagna, sì. E questo anno è un buon anno per tartufo?
Sì, se ne trova molto, ad Alba meno, però se ne trova meno, ma è un tantino più pregiato.
Are truffles an aphrodisiac? Savoring them in Acqualagna in their freshest state here in the Italian countryside with a glass of fine Italian wine and sliced atop pasta, risotto, fonduta, or some other delicious Italian dish. Well, as Briant Severin said, it tends to make women more tender and men more likable. That was really almost truffle overload. I felt truffle stuffed when I left.
I was just going to ask you, like I OD'd on foie gras, you OD'd on truffles.
If you have a truffle addiction, go to Acqualagna. You'll satisfy it, and then you can kind of move on and eat other things.
So did you buy any?
Yeah, I did. I actually bought those couple little ones. Those were only like €3 or €4 a piece.
Oh, wow.
They were really reasonable.
And you ate them. You look like you were eating it.
I gave them to my friends. We all sort of munching on them just there. And the best way to eat that kind of truffle is a little bit of salt, and then just dip it in the salt and then eat it like that. And then you get the taste and the aroma and, of course, the salt.
So there was in the movie, it showed a picture of you shaving it. And
Yes.
you have your own shaver, or there's a restaurant shaver?
No. I travel with, some people travel with their salt. I travel with my truffle shaver. We bought a couple of white truffles as well, and actually bought them from Urbani, who was up there. And you went to Urbani, didn't you?
I did. We had, when I was on a cooking trip in Italy, she hosted us at Urbani's factory.
The one in Scagino, like near Spoleto?
Yes.
Yeah. It's
And
like
we
Fort
had
Knox driving in there, right?
We had a truffle lunch.
I bet that was amazing.
It was amazing.
So I went years ago when I was working on a book about truffles. I went, and it was a long time ago. And Carlo Urbani, which is one of the descendants of a very old man now at that point, was around. He looked like a truffle actually, but he took me there. And then I think it was Bruno Urbani, who was the mayor of Scagino. So we were all kind of hanging out there together. It was really, really fun. So I mean, it was an amazing.
So you mentioned something about buying some to bring back to the States.
Oh, well, I didn't bring them back to the States. I bought some just
because you're not supposed to go through customs with
right,
food.
and it's not worth the hassle.
Right.
I mean, you have to have them certified if you're going to bring in truffles because they've got dirt in them, and
so word had it that you were on the plane and adding it to your food to try to
anything would have been
try to elevate your plane food.
Anything would have helped. So, but I didn't have my grater, my slicer with me. So we just cut it up in little chunks and then ate it and put a little bit on the gnocchi that was served.
I could imagine the people around you.
Yeah, I'm not sure they were wondering if I took my shoes off or something. I mean, it's kind of a strong aroma, but boy, it's a good one.
Yeah,
I think. But anyway, if you're into truffles, this is the peak of the season right now. The white truffles are amazing this year. Figure the prices they're always high because they're so rare. You know?
So the price you were saying of the white is like 3 or 4 times the price of the.
Yeah, about four times or more of the price of the dark truffles, the black truffles, the burgundy truffles, and they're both great. You know, they're different, but you know. How you like your truffles.
How you like your truffles.
But I would definitely do it. And actually, for viewers in the U.S.,
right?
I'd go to Urbani's website.
Well, you also, the Urbanis do a truffle cruise during the Fancy Food Show in New York.
Wow. Wait, cruise in
cruise,
New York? Around New York City?
Right. It's the Hornblower yacht.
Yeah.
And you're invited on, and you board, and then you're out in the Hudson, go down to the Statue of Liberty and come back up, and you're eating pasta with truffles and all that.
They know how to do it, don't they?
Yes.
They really do. Yeah, I'm a big fan of truffles, and I'm going to go through my little withdrawal, and then I'm going to be waiting for some more. So
I passed my withdrawal of foie gras.
You're back
from my OD, so I'm back into it.
Yeah. So there we go.
Yeah.
We should have some truffles with foie gras. It's a
would
nice
be
combination,
good,
don't you think? I think so. It's great. And by the way, just a good point, truffles, especially the white ones, are best with bland food.
Absolutely.
And that's really important because I know some chefs, even here in the U.S., will use truffles and make a complicated dish, and you get lost. The truffles get lost.
So like a simple pasta, like a cacio de pepe with it.
Yeah, or you could do a risotto, or I even like fonduta.
Risotto is really good.
They melt some fontina cheese and you just put it on top of there, and then the heat brings out the flavor.
Ooh,
but it
I'm
doesn't
getting
overpower
hungry.
it because it's mild.
Right.
You ready for something to eat?
Absolutely.
I'm starving. All right, we're gonna take a break. When we come back, we're gonna go to San Luis Obispo. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Bonjour Alex.
Bonjour Renaud.
Happiness? It's great food prepared the French way.
Chocolate eclair.
What makes you happy?
A touch of Paris.
Without the trip to France. Handcrafted daily in our bakeries, especially for you. Indulge yourself.
Bon appétit.
Please visit Renault's in Gelston, Santa Barbara, Long Beach, and La Cañada, Flint Ridge.
And we're back here on Around the World. I'm Arthur von Wiesenberger. The lovely Bonnie Tani LeBlanc is our pilot today on Around the
Pleasure
World.
to be here.
You know, one of the big problems I've had on this flight was cocktails. You know, there's no staff. I don't see anybody bringing cocktails or drinks.
Me neither.
I'm ready for like a beer or maybe something a little more important.
Whiskey.
Oh, would you like a little whiskey?
Oh, yeah.
We've been talking food. Let's go to drink. And you know what? We got somebody on board who can tell us all about it because they're from San Luis Obispo with Slow Brew. And we're so thrilled to have Rodney and Hamish with us today. Guys, thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
And thanks for bringing all these goodies. My gosh. I mean, I remember when Slow Brew was a brewery. That was pretty much what was happening.
Brew pub. That's
it
right.
Was a brew pub. That was
right in the heart of town.
Ago. Yeah. Wasn't it on like Higuera or something like that?
Right on
Garden Street.
Garden.
But
now you're on Higuera.
Now we're on Higuera.
Which I love that part of town, by the way. It is so cool. You got the river running along there on the backside.
Overlook Bubblegum Alley.
Bubblegum Alley?
Famous spot in San Luis.
Oh, I didn't know that.
It's been on the historical channel.
But famous.
And so when you took things over and you revamped things, the beer was a big part of what started things, right?
Yeah,
that was sort of the beginning.
we came into the picture about 8 years ago, and it was like Rod said, it was a brew pub, but Slow Brew was getting distributed in about 38 different states.
Wow.
Anyway, it had hit its turns of events, but it was pretty iconic in the Central Coast. Rod's a brand guy. I was a builder. We both have a love for alcohol, So
my friend Betty Ford.
Betty Ford. And Betty we had to have some shortly. But we both got together. We're best friends, and we said, let's revamp and relaunch the brand. And it was pretty dear to our hearts for different reasons. It was where Rod had his first beer with a false ID, underage drinking, which doesn't happen anymore. And then it was the first place I actually ever came to when I got off the plane from Australia about 27 years ago.
You went straight to San Luis Obispo?
I went straight to Slow Brew in San Luis Obispo.
No, okay.
It literally was the first.
How'd you get?
It was where
how did you find that?
It was where I was told to meet the guy that I was coming over to work for.
Oh,
yeah.
There you go.
It's
so it was a business meeting.
It's always been a
business
hall.
Yeah. Watering hole.
All right. So we started with the brew, which by the way, these are interesting looking cans. They don't look the same.
Well, this is a little variety pack. We wanted to give you some choices.
Oh.
And the tops are unusual.
But this is our takeoff beer. We make a Cali Squeeze. It's a blood orange hef. It's delicious. Ooh. We make it also a mango, so we can taste that today. We started the brewery, and we actually couldn't get out of the facility. So when we revamped the new building on Higuera, we redid the brewery downstairs. Then upstairs, we built the Lofts, which is a 5-suite kind of
hotel.
Unique boutique hotel. It's
beautiful little room.
Considered one of
fantastic.
The most best luxury party hotel in SLO.
Party
I think
hotel.
is what it is deemed.
That's an interesting thought.
Yeah.
Well, isn't it the best luxury party hotel in California?
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
You can call it that.
Yeah.
But it's beautiful, and it's got 1, 2, and 3 bedroom units and rooftop decks overlooking the creek and the Mission and right down the main drag. But also part of our little vibrant hub of the restaurant downstairs. So the restaurant downstairs, Slow Brew, is called the Carissa, and that's only
What's that named after?
The actual building. Oh. The building is the Carissa.
Because isn't
named
that
after
also a plant?
It's the Carrizo Plains, which is the tall grass that's just on this side of the mountains. So if you've been out driving through Carrizo Plains, that's right when you head off towards Bakersfield from here.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Do we dare open one of these?
Yeah. Let's crack some open.
You said there's something like with blood orange. You like blood orange?
So,
I like blood orange.
So we had the small little brewery, but in order to get into cans, we had to open a new one. So Hamish and I built a 3-acre campus out by the airport, and that's called The Rock because we built it around a giant rock. And over the last 3 years, we've been able to build out that facility so it's a restaurant. It's also where we host our concerts and business functions. We have a 600-person venue there. That's very high-tech with big screens and great sound systems. And then we just finished, as of last week, we launched our new distillery.
Thank you.
Which is Rod and Hammer's. Rod and Hamish, nicknamed Hammer.
Oh, I got it.
So,
ooh, it has a nice nose.
So we were excited to open that up. We also have been partnering with do you guys drink Opolo wine? Have you had Opolo wine?
I've seen it. I haven't had it.
Well, one of the son of Opolo and us have partnered, and we've created a
Thanks for having
wine.
us on the show, by the way.
Hey, great to have you on board.
Well.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Oh, this is
In the eye. In the eye.
yeah.
Ooh, that lovely.
That's great.
It's good, isn't it?
That really is a different way to drink beer. I mean, it's like totally changes it.
Yeah, it's a fresh blood orange puree that we put into a Hefeweizen. And
Nothing artificial.
nothing artificial whatsoever, and it's
pure puree.
That's delicious.
It's beautiful.
I mean, I love blood orange with my tequila, but I know I'm going to realize I like it with.
There you go.
Well, one of our signature cocktails at the distillery, because we have a full cocktail bar there too. But the whole theme is surfer meets cowboy. That's why you'll see on our little logo we've got a bull's head with the surfboard in it. But he's a cowboy. I'm a surfer. Grew up here in the Central Coast, surfing everywhere from Rincon up to Santa Cruz Steamers Lane. So what we've done is we've taken the ocean water and literally the Santa Barbara water here that comes through, and we are cutting our liquor with the ocean's water.
Wait, with the salt and everything in it?
So the theme is cut with the Pacific. Yeah, well, just like how it's desalinized, and you're also.
I was going to say, 23,000 parts per million of
You're distilling.
That's going to be a little tough, yeah.
But when you taste it, it's beautiful. So you'll enjoy the whiskey. But this is all small cask, 15-gallon barrel aged whiskey. And we put it on oak for about 12 months, but that equals about a 10-year-old like Scotch, and you'll see it in the taste. But that's kind of our angle, is we're cut with the Pacific, and it's all hand batched. And we have a barrel wall just up in our distillery that we've been bringing all of our friends and families and businesses in, so they actually can buy their own barrel up on the wall. And they get to be part of our business. So it creates like 30 bottles in 1 year, but they get to be part of our whole story.
So are you sold in New York?
We will start distributing, first we start locally. So right now we're distributed in 17 states with the wine and the beer. And then on the distilling side, we haven't even been able to produce enough to go out to market yet. So we've just opened the distillery, but we will start going out to
local
each state,
California.
piece by piece.
Wow. You also have an event center.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which, funny enough, someone was just talking about that they were just at an event at your event center, which is, wow, it's a small world.
What was the event?
Do you remember?
No.
What she was saying? No, but she was there.
She was there, and that we knew about the rock in the center, and
Yeah, you couldn't. I mean, it's so funny. You can't miss the rock, and people turn up and they're like, "So, how did you make that?" And it was like, "No, actually, it's part of the volcanic makeup of the Seven Sisters." Wow. And the event center is great. We finished it last September, and it houses about 600 stand up and about 204 sit down for dinner. So, it's great. We have music events, we have weddings, we
have a lot of weddings. Surprisingly, people really like to get married in a brewery.
Why not? Because the
rest
of the marriage life in a brewery. That's wild.
Yeah, and actually, this seems like something you'd serve as a wedding.
Yes.
You could,
beautiful.
Because
people who don't like beer,
it's like
I
blood
think
orange.
people who don't like beer would really enjoy that.
Yeah. It really is a crossover in the beer.
And you formulated this yourselves? You came up with your recipe?
Well, we have a brewer who's a longtime brewer who's actually the first employee of Slow Brew, and he went to work when Slow Brew kind of had a transition and went silent for probably 6 years, and that's when we changed ownership to us after that. But he went on to go be a top brewer for Firestone Walker, and so we asked him if he would like to come back and work with us full time, and he said, absolutely, you built me a brewery and I'll make you some great beer. So his name is Steve Courier, and he's fantastic. So Steve heads up all this, and he's part of our ownership group, and he's really committed to everything we make. So including we just made him make a
Michelada.
Have you ever heard of a Michelada?
No.
Okay, so travelers will love this, but if you've ever gone down to south of the border, one of the greatest hangover recipes is called a Michelada or an Ojo Rojo.
Ojo Rojo, no.
Yeah, so as a surfer, a lot of us surfers know about it, but it's basically a Bloody Mary of beers. And so we actually just entered the market last
May.
Last Cinco de Mayo with Bevmo, all the Bevmo stores up and down the coast, and we created this beautiful craft Michelada for them.
Wow.
So what this has got actually almost 22 ingredients into it, and all natural again, but spices, and we have a mango one, a blood orange, and then a picante.
Mango, blood orange, and?
A picante.
Wow. Picante, okay.
So we literally have to kind of stir it a little bit for you because it's so real. Let's do this one. This is a really pretty one. You'll like this one.
Oh.
So this is the same blood orange. So we use the hef and the blood orange, and then a michelada mix, but it's the same base as this
I'm going to pour it
Cali
right in there 'cause
squeeze.
it doesn't matter.
Oh, really?
I have a question.
It's part of the
because
same beer.
I find the top, the holder of the beer, is that to replace the?
That's the pack. It's called a pack tech.
So it's not dangerous to birds and things. It's
No.
because the other was.
Yeah. Wow, that is spicy.
Is that the picante?
Yeah.
Ooh,
Yeah, it's got a kick to it.
Yeah.
Olé.
And it's
Olé.
beer with
Wow.
beer.
So it's the same. So it is the blood orange hef,
Right.
which you drank before,
Right.
Right.
with a michelada blended in.
Good.
Cheers.
Salute again.
So
Oh, I like
we've just
that.
added the michelada mix, which we formulated ourselves,
Yeah.
but
So
use the
there's
same
everything
base.
in there from chili, cayenne, there's tahini,
There is cayenne.
there's a nice amount of just a heat. So it's very common, and you have a tomato, you have even some kind of usually a soy sauce base to it, but it's a typical Bloody Mary, but it's a Bloody Mary of beers. And so you can just pour it right over ice. And usually what they do is in Mexico, it'll be rimmed with tahini, and they'll have all sorts of great add-ons from shrimps to, lemons and limes.
Hey, we got to take a quick break, but will you guys stay
Yeah,
around on the
absolutely.
plane? I mean, we're just going to keep flying.
As long as you
south.
take us somewhere good, we're good to stay.
You got it. All right. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we got more Around the World. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Canine of mine, friend for all time. So glad you're my best friend. Through thick and thin, we'll see things through. Canine of mine, so true.
For the complete A to Z of everything to do with animals, go to animalzone.org. Bonnie, I'm having too much fun here on Around the World now. Look at what just turned up. I can't believe it. We are partying. We're getting higher than this plane can get high, right? We got Rodney and Hamish from SLO Brewing with us, and we've now moved on from beer to something a little more powerful. Can we say?
Yeah, it's our. This is our Rye Reserve whiskey that we make at the brewery, and it's a small batch barrel. We make it in the brewery, the mash.
Is it the barrel which gives it that nose?
We use all American oak barrels. So between that and the rye itself is what's giving it the nose, and it's very smooth. I mean, it's equivalent to 8 years of aging, because you've got a greater surface area to the liquid.
Well, here's to 8 years of not aging, getting younger. Right?
I'll drink to that.
So you asked about the color. Of course, when you distill liquid, no matter what it is, it's going to come out like moonshine, right? It always comes out clear. So you could distill strawberries, you could distill anything that has sugars. The difference between a bourbon and a bourbon, it's mainly distilled out of corn. And that's because the whole Kentucky, Tennessee, that whole area is high corn. And to save that corn during the winter months, they would need to do something with it after they grew high in the summer. So they would distill it. And that would preserve the corn in the form of warmth in the winter.
I'm feeling warmer already.
There you go.
Let's turn down the AC on this plane.
We don't produce a lot, so we have to be, it'll take a little bit to get going, but the bourbon will be more readily available, as well as the high rye. So we'll have a rye, a reserve rye, and the bourbon. But we're going to stay in brown spirits, and when you go out to the distillery, we have this beautiful tap room, tasting room, that you can order full cocktails, because luckily the liquor laws just changed so that we can do that when you come out. And we can have a beautiful smoked old fashioned, a Manhattan's. We have
Smoked old-fashioned?
We have a whiskey drunk margarita.
It's all smoked. It's got a little lid on it, and then you take the lid off, and
And the
it's
oh,
it's,
yeah,
it's
that sounds
beautiful.
We have
good.
some wonderful cocktail specialists, mixologists that have helped us make some great recipes. And then once they're out there, so the consumer can come and they can buy 3 bottles at a time, walk straight out of the facility, or they can join our barrel club, which I mentioned to you before. They can jump on the wall and be a part of our distillery.
It sounds to me like San Luis Obispo is coming around and becoming a destination, don't you think?
Did you know it was the happiest place in a city in America?
Well, I can see after this.
Did
According
you
to
actually
Oprah.
know it was in one of the travel magazines that it was one of the 19 places in the world to come to in 2019?
Really?
And I'm not kidding you.
Okay, so people want to know more. You've got a website, I'm sure.
Yep.
And what is that URL?
Slowbrew.com.
SLO? brew.com.
Yep.
Easy. Huh?
Easy.
So
And-
when you're ready to distribute, will you announce that on there so people can know they can buy it at that point?
Absolutely.
Wow. All right. Well, I think
Slowbrew.com.
we're going to write that down and
Right.
keep it in our books. And if I never see you again because you're stuck in San Luis Obispo,
Yeah.
I can't blame you. Guys,
Cheers.
thanks so much for coming.
Yep,
Really
thanks for
appreciate
having
you
us.
coming on
Yeah,
around the
cheers.
world.
Cheers.
This is the most fun I've had in this plane.
It's been a great
you.
flight.
All righty. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to join Grace Fujimoto, who is going to tell us all about Wanderlust. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
The Santa Barbara Humane Society is an independent, local, community-based nonprofit with adoptable animals ready to find a forever home today.
The Santa Barbara Humane Society offers low-cost spay, neuter, and vaccinations to cats and dogs in our community. And Dr. Sisk is our veterinarian who performs those surgeries and helps with the vaccinations. Also, please have a relationship with your local veterinarian in case of an emergency.
Visit sbhumanesociety.org and remember,
At the Santa Barbara Humane Society, we want you to adopt, not shop.
And welcome back to Around the World. I'm Arthur von Wiesenberger. Our co-pilot today is Bonnie Tanny LeBlanc, all the way from biteofthebest.com. So good to have you in studio for a change, Bonnie.
It's thrilling to be here.
I mean, we have been eating and drinking our way out of shape here.
We have.
Between the foie gras and the truffles and now the beer.
The beer.
I mean, what else is left?
Who
Well, you know
would've-
what?
What?
You know what? Maybe we got to talk about bucket lists. Do you have a bucket list?
I have done my bucket list.
You've done your bucket list, and you're still so young. I don't know how you do that. You know what?
Do you have one?
Well, all my friends have bucket lists, but they're so expensive. Mine is a little pale in comparison.
So do you have a way to find inexpensive bucket lists?
Well, I think there's a book that's come out that has everything you ever want on a bucket list and then even more. It's called Wanderlust. It's from Moon, and it's a traveler's guide to the globe. And this book, which is a spectacular kind of coffee table book, I mean, you could read this and get lost in it for days. It's got everything you ever wanted to know about the world, but we're afraid to ask. But we got one person who was the editor who's going to join us right now here on Around the World. Grace Fujimoto up in the Bay Area is joining us. Hello, Grace.
Hi, Arthur. Hi, Bonnie. How are you?
We're great, and it's so good to have a travel expert who's behind a book of this quality. I mean, it's amazing what you've got in here. You've got like the 50 wonders of the world. It's a wonder to me that you could even come up with this book. It's so big. But and you've got stuff about incredible destinations, the best beaches, great cities.
I like that.
I mean, things that we live for, right? So. First of all, tell me, how did this book get launched? What was the thinking behind it?
Yeah, so thanks for asking that. So for over 40 years, Moon Travel has been publishing travel guidebooks that help people plan their trip and guide them like when they're on the ground. But with Wanderlust, we really wanted to get them like even earlier where they're just dreaming about where they want to go next. And that's what we wanted to do rather than be really practical, just be really inspirational.
And it sure is. Between the pictures and the design of the book, it's really engaging. It's hard not to keep reading it. But you know, so let's start. 50 Wonders of the World. What are some that you could go and see and you weren't going to say break the bank?
Some that aren't going to break the bank. Well, here in the U.S., we have the canyons of the American West, which you could do a road trip to from California, and road trips tend to be less expensive because you're not paying for a big flight. Mm-hmm. So that's one that I think, especially if you add camping into the mix, that you could do on a budget.
Well, yeah, of course, my camping days, I think, are gone.
Mine are over.
I look at a tent and I get my back goes sore. But once upon a time, for younger families, that's a good idea. Now, how about some of the trivia that you've got from Travel Facts from around the world? Can you share with us some of the trivia you got?
Yeah, well, if you ever find yourself talking about rivers, which I'm sure happens all the time, there's a river in Cambodia, the Tonle Sap River, that reverses direction for part of the year during the heavy monsoon season. So instead of flowing away from the lake, it flows toward the lake. So it's really wild.
That is kind of an amazing thought. I didn't know rivers.
I didn't know rivers.
I know there's a river in Munich that surfers can surf.
Wow!
And it's right in the middle of this beautiful park, and then you see these surfers with surfboards
surfing in a river.
Yeah, because the river creates a wave that just sort of a constant wave. So they just get on the wave and they go back and forth, and then they hang 5, and then they go get 6 beers.
That could go in her next book.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Now, Bonnie is a very seasoned traveler. I'm pale in comparison.
I don't.
But for the seasoned traveler, what are some surprises that the book has for even a seasoned traveler?
Well, I think that for people who are more like adventurers, I feel like the Pacific Crest Trail and the Appalachian Trail get a lot of press, but there's another trail here in the U.S. called the Continental Divide Trail that I think is just less well known, but it's one of the treks that we feature on Treks of a Lifetime.
Where does it start
I think
from?
that one that's really...
Where do you get on the Continental Trail? Where does it go from?
Oh, it goes through the Rockies. So you go through Rocky Mountain National Park. You also go through Banff and Jasper National Park. It even goes into Canada.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
I'm looking at your index right now, and I see 20 romantic places in the world.
Yeah.
Can you share one or two of them?
Yeah, well, I think that section starts off with this beautiful photo of Venice in Italy, and so that's definitely a really romantic place. I think, another one that's also over in Europe is Greece, and the island of Santorini is really beautiful.
Yeah.
And then one of my favorites, and it's on my bucket list, is Vietnam's Ha Long Bay, which is this beautiful bay with these rocky islands that you hop on a boat for a day or two and just sail around, and it just sounds amazing.
And then you can go down to Marble Mountain, which is a fascinating place right near Ha Long Bay. And Marble Mountain is where it overlooks China Beach. Remember China Beach from the war, unfortunately. But anyway, it's a fascinating area, and they have beautiful sculptures you can buy to bring home if you happen to have a big boat or something, because they're very heavy, made all out of marble. The book is it's got great photography. Was that something that you guys managed to go out and get? Because to cover all these places is just amazing. This is like it's like the World Book Encyclopedia of travel.
That is a great question, and we didn't have all of these photos on our server. We definitely went out and looked for some professional photographs.
Amazing.
But definitely, it was a huge team effort to put this all together.
Yeah, how many years did it take you? It looks like it was a long project.
Oh gosh, well, that is something that I can't say definitively, because I've now that it's here, the process of getting it all together is kind of faded in my memory. We are just really happy that it came together the way it did.
Well, I'm looking at train trips, which is, of course, another great experience if you're not in the United States. I hate to say it. Until Amtrak gets their act together, I'd rather go take trains overseas. And I was just on a train to Luxembourg, which is an unusual destination for a train, but they have these old-fashioned trains that get you there. But I'm looking at the one in Switzerland underneath the Eiger, which is probably the Gonnegrad train that goes up through the Gonnegrad area. That's a wonderful little restaurant right there. And the Swiss, without a doubt, have, I think, some of the best train systems, because it really works on time. You can set your watch by the trains.
Yeah.
And they do. But and they also have the Glacier Express. I don't know if you've ever heard of that one. That's the one that goes from St. Moritz all the way to Zermatt. And it's an amazing train. It isn't the fastest train in the world, but that's part of the joy, because you sit there and look at the most incredible scenery. And anyway, I love the trains. I'm glad you've got a train section, because that's one of my favorite passions.
How many contributors were there?
So we worked primarily with the guy who's on the title page, named Philippe, and he's a really well-established travel writer in France, and definitely worked with him to kind of gather all of this information, and so it's definitely a kind of global look at everything that I think anyone, like, that would meet almost anybody's interests. So even if you're not interested in trains like Arthur, you might be more interested in sitting in a plaza and just watching the world go by. There's a list for that. If you're more interested in food, there's a whole section on food. So I think there's a little bit for everybody in here.
And am I right to say this would make like the ideal holiday gift for someone, because it's a beautiful gift. I mean, it's gorgeous, and it's available, I assume, through all normal bookstores, including Amazon. Is that right?
Yes, yeah, and yes, I think it is the perfect gift for the traveler in your life, and it's available wherever books are sold, so Amazon, Barnes & Noble, your favorite local independent, and we have a website, moon.com, where you can find out more about Wanderlust and also take a quiz on what kind of traveler you are.
Well, Grace Fujimoto, you have been such a joy to have on, and thank you for sharing the insights about Wanderlust, a traveler's guide to the globe, and I am ready to go around the world with this book in hand. Well, maybe not in hand.
I'll join you.
We do a little work on it. Wish you the very best, and I hope we'll have you back on again in the near future.
Yes, thank you. This was a lot of fun. Thank you so much.
All righty. Thanks so much, Grace. Have a good evening. Bye now.
You too. Bye-bye.
I am tempted to...
It makes me want to have the captain redirect our plane right now.
Yeah, well, you know what? We got to cool our jets. I can't believe it, but it's already time to say goodbye. And,
oh, no.
And it went by way too fast, but boy, did we have a good time, didn't we?
This was lots of fun.
I mean, besides this wonderful ending of places we need to go in the future, I loved all those beers and things we had from Slow Brewing. That was really cool. I'm going to go up to San Luis tomorrow, and well, you're going there.
I'm actually going
You're
tomorrow.
going tomorrow.
Right.
Will you call me and tell me what it's like?
I will. I'll stop by the brewery.
That sounds great, and of course, we really enjoyed your little tour of France. Thanks so much for doing that. And when are we going to have you back in studio?
I don't know. I'm going to have to come back to Santa Barbara. This is lots of fun.
I think you need to come back here. Well, so good to see you. Thank you for joining us.
It was great having me.
And we wish you good travels between now and the future.
Thanks, and I'm heading to San Luis Obispo, so I'm going to go try their brewery and their food and their wines and their whiskeys.
We may get you back before you know it, right?
Right.
All right. Well, thank you all for watching, and we'll see you next time on Around the World. In the meantime, happy trails.
This is pretty amazing.
Thank you for traveling with us today on Around the World. We hope you'll join us for another adventure next week. In the meantime, all of us at Around the World wish you happy trails.